days left in the month of November, 31 days in the month of December. So there are 36 days left in the year 2025. Once again, welcome to At the Table with Crucian Educator. This is yours truly, Verdell Peterson. I'm the host of this 1 hour radio talk show on the number one radio station, WSTX. The show streams live on Facebook as well as on your 970 AM radio dial. This is a call-in show. However, I am expecting a guest. But if anyone wishes to call in with any topic related to the Virgin Islands, any affairs, I do have a Facebook group. It's a platform where you can virtually immerse yourselves into the political, historical, educational, cultural, and social affairs of the Virgin Islands of the United States. I like to focus on topics such as constitutional development, self-determination, civics, governance, Virgin Islands, culture, history, and heritage. I do avoid 5 topics, however, not necessarily in these orders. One, religion. 2, political ideologies. I understand politics is in the mix of everything, but I prefer to focus on the political rights and the processes involved in us securing these rights and not necessarily getting into political ideologies, mythologies. I avoid conspiracy theories and sports. Not that sport is not in any of these topics isn't important. It's just I have my preference. I have a mission and a passion that is to educate, enlighten, and inspire minds. And I would like us to know as much as possible about how we're governed. So civic education is very important to me. A knowledge of our history, Virgin Islands history, is also a priority. I think it's important to know our history. But as I said, politics is in the mix of everything. So we have a lot of issues taking place. The upcoming election of November 2026, that's going to be just a few months from now. So we need to start thinking about who we would like to elect, start thinking about the importance of getting others to participate in the process. So everybody could be on a recruitment journey. Recruit voters, get a register voters, because it's dismal that we do not have a great turnout. I don't know when was the last time we had a turnout of more than 60%, let's say, of the registered voters. I don't know the record. We can go on and study statistics. We can go to vivote.gov and see some of the statistics. What percent turnout in each of our past elections. However, I do know the statistics show that most voters are over the age of 40. So most people registering to vote for the first time is are likely to be under the age of 30. When was the first time I'm speaking to Virgin Islanders who residing here in the territory, when was the first time you registered to vote? At what age did you first register to vote? I recall I first registered to vote when I was age 24 years old. Eligible voters are not registered to vote in mass numbers. So we don't have a true representation of the government. This government that we have is a Republican form of government. We have what is known as representative democracy. That means we elect our representatives to make the laws, to enforce interpret the laws. We ourselves don't vote directly. So it's somewhat misleading when we say we are the government. To be more precise, we, the people, actually shape the government. Because this is a government for the people, by the people, and of the people. So we, the people, have an opportunity every 2 years to participate in an election to choose our representatives. And unfortunately, all those who are eligible to register do not. I have a question. What percent of all the eligible voters you think make up this population? The people. The people is everybody, including your registered voters. Everybody residing here, all of us are the people. We are the ones who are being governed. But only registered voters are able to go to the polls and elect their representatives. My question is, okay, let's put it a different way. How many 18-year-olds in the territory have not yet registered? What is your estimation? I think we need to start with 18-year-old because they are the ones who are going to follow by example, and we need to set a good example. If we are promoting not voting, that's a really terrible message to send to the young people. We got to lead by example because they emulate us. If we want civic-minded, productive citizen, we have to encourage all 18 years old who are eligible to register to vote to fulfill this civic responsibility. So until I get my guests, maybe I called in, I'm not sure, maybe in the studio, you are welcome to call in and address the first question. Give me an estimate. What percent or how many you estimate? How many 18 years old are there that have not yet registered to vote? I'm curious. We know the statistics for each past elections. We know the statistics of how many registered voters are in the territory. I can't give it right off the bat, but probably maybe 35,000 registered voters. I'm not sure. Anybody out there, could you say how many persons are registered to vote in the Virgin Islands of the United States? That's the official name given to our territory. Essentially, it's a colony, but the U.S. Virgin Islands is classified as an unincorporated territory. And according to the document that is governing us, the Revised Organic Act of 1954, the official name for the U.S. Virgin Islands is the Virgin Islands of the United States. But as you could see, that's official because unofficially, most people refer to the territory as the U.S. Virgin Islands. Look at the address, even on the buildings of the post office. You see U.S. Virgin Islands. You do not see the official name, Virgin Islands of the United States. So for official purpose, that's what it's called. But most of us know it as the U.S. Virgin Islands or the United States Virgin Islands because there is another Virgin Islands. There's a British Virgin Islands, a British colony that includes Tortola, Virgin Gorda, and some other islands. Don't recall now, but Virgin Gorda I know is part of the British Virgin Islands. I believe just Van Dyke. But anyway, there's the British Virgin Islands, a British colony, and there's the U.S. Virgin Islands, a United States colony. We have a lot of similarities. We have a lot of cultural tradition and heritage are the same. However, sovereignty is different. As indicated in the word, sovereignty of the British Virgin Islands is Great Britain. Sovereignty of the U.S. Virgin Islands, United States. What is your nationality if you're born in the Virgin Islands of the United States? That's a question that I have for you. What is your nationality? Because I hear some folks saying that they are not Americans. So I'd like to know what you consider your nationality if you are born here in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Well, I have my old passport, and it says United States of America, and it has my nationality according to this passport. My nationality is United States of America. Sounds to me, I'm an American. I do identify myself as an American because, as I stated earlier, this is a United States territory, and the U.S. Constitution, not in its entirety, but it's applicable, Specifically, the 14th Amendment is applicable to residents of the U.S. Virgin Islands. However, we have a different status from the state. Each state, you have 50 states, are part of the Union, part of the United States. We are possessions of the United States, like the other four unincorporated territories. There are four others, let me name them, besides the U.S. Virgin Islands. There's the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, our closest U.S. neighbor. That's the official title of Puerto Rico. But I don't think you see on the address. You getting a call? Let's see if this is. Welcome.
Good morning.
Pleasant good morning.
How are you, Bernal?
I am blessed. Is this Ahmad Hussein?
This is Ahmad Hussein speaking.
Okay, thank you. Welcome to the show. I was expecting you. I am going to conduct an interview style. I wanted to give you some of the questions in advance, but I guess there was a communication mishap.
That's okay. You know, we just get out of the event and we're all playing catch up.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let me say to the audience, I have on the line a calling guest, Ahmad Hussein, who is the president of the Virgin Islands Palestinian Friendship Association. And he was instrumental in this event that occurred this past Sunday, which was the Virgin Islands Palestinian Friendship Day celebration, which was held at the Rudolph Schauterbrand Agriculture Fairgrounds. We had a conversation. I heard him previously in Abdul Ali Show, Community Digest. And I was really inspired to call and invite him in to be a guest because I think he has some expertise and insights that would be valuable to our community. And he represents the Palestinian community, which is part of our community, and we have a shared mission to see that our traditional cultures are preserved and celebrated, and unity in the Virgin Islands. So I will let him give a presentation, introduce himself, and tell us his role, and then I will be doing an interview. So you could proceed.
Yes, good morning to you, Bernal, and to our audience, all our fellow Virgin Islanders, and everybody out there. My name is Ahmad Hussein, and I represent the Virgin Islands Palestinian Friendship Association, an association that was formed just over a year ago after the found that Palestinian diaspora to how most of us got here to the U.S. Virgin Islands, and we, chose that day to be the friendship day amongst people from Palestinian descent with the other um, members of the BI community at large.
So the date, November 29th, you chose because it coincides with something you mentioned about the United Nations. You could repeat that?
Yes, it's the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people that was established by the General Assembly of the United Nations in 1977. And we chose that day, to kind of, because, it kind of tells the date itself it tells us the history.
Okay.
You know.
And I attended the celebration, the Virgin Islands Friendship Day celebration this Sunday.
Yes.
And I know
we're very thankful for you for joining us.
yes, I was very impressed. I was equally impressed the first time it occurred. I thought the first celebration a year ago took place at the St. George's Botanical Garden. And
that is correct.
Yes, I did attend then, and I was really impressed because I learned so much about the Palestinian culture and traditions, and I saw the displays, beautiful fabrics, and so forth. And it was very welcoming. The hospitality, I felt that warmth. I felt that hospitality, and I wanted to really have a strong connection with the Palestinian. So I know it was mentioned when the first Palestinian came to St. Croix, but could you elaborate on that? Could you tell me what inspired Palestinian to immigrate to St. Croix, and when did the first set of immigrants arrived on St. Croix?
Well, that part of the world, suffered before and during and in the aftermath of the World Wars One and Two, and the political and social unrest that took place in those areas. And Palestinian people are people that are looking for a chance and looking to improve their families' conditions and families' lifestyle. And, they're very hardworking and ambitious people. And, when things started closing up people over there, people started looking outside of that territory to make a living.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the majority of the Palestinians and even people in that region, including the Lebanese, the Syrians, that main causes why they migrated, and most of them went to South America, and a big portion of them then came to to the United States of America. But it was to improve their living conditions, and of course, there are people that travel seeking knowledge and education, and that academic achievements in the U.S. and
Okay. And you said some chose to go to South America, the
Yes,
States.
I think Brazil, the first Palestinian probably that set foot on the territory that we know of is probably in the early 1950s.
1950s. Okay.
Mhm. Now, prior to that, I understand that also there was another Arab that came from Syria, Lebanon,
Mm-hmm.
back earlier than that. But and I learned that not too long ago, and uh, I think the name of the family is Alexander.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, but at least from where we came from and how we became to exist here, I know that one of our great grandfathers came there in the early 50s,
Mm-hmm.
and and his nephews, he brought down his nephews, and his nephews were related and at the same age group, and they were cousins to my grandfather, and that's
Mm-hmm.
how my grandfather vacated for the second time, uh, and that's how we ended up first on St. Thomas and then here on St. Croix.
So the Alexander Theater and Times Square, is that
I, I
associated?
believe that's the George under his name. It was named after him, uh, and yeah, I think he's actually, I would say he's the first. Uh, he's the first Arab to set foot on the territory in the territory that we know
Uh-huh.
of. And at that time when he came, uh, probably even Syria, Lebanon, and Palestine, it was one territory. So
Mm-hmm.
we consider him Palestinian even,
Okay.
because at that time that territory was not divided by sites because and the European influence at that time, whether British or French or whatever.
Right. Well, I know I look at the message with the association, and it's a organization that is not political, not religious, and I don't really like to get into too much political ideologies either. I like to focus on the political history. So for some people, they just look at it and the Middle East. They just see it as one group of people, the Arabs. Done. I have one student in my class. He was from Jordan. I don't know if you didn't mention that one. Um, but everybody from the Middle East that comes here and just put in one category. They are Arabs. Do you connect with other members of the Palestinian diaspora, and how do you wish to be identified? I know you are proud of your Palestinian heritage, as you should be, and I am proud of my Crucian heritage. But we all here under the U.S. flag. I want us to be living in peace and harmony. how would you and other Palestinian wish to be identified and classified?
Well, we are proud Palestinians. We are, and Palestinians are part of the Arab nationality.
Uh-huh.
But we are proud Palestinians, and we'd like to be called the Palestinians.
Yes.
You know, when when the Arabs, of which we are part of, and we are, as even when the Arabs migrated to South America during the Ottoman rule, they entered South America with Ottoman documents and passports, and up to this day, there is in so many places they refer to the people of that region as Turcos. They call them Turcos,
Mm-hmm. Turks.
but yeah, because they entered, and at that time it was the Ottoman rule when the migration to South America started, and these people entered with Turkish travel documents, and they called them Turcos. Some of the places they still call them Turcos up to this day. So yes, we're going to be addressed as Palestinians,
Mm-hmm.
and we are proud Palestinians, and yes, our organization is believes in cultural, cross-cultural exchanges, cultural diversity, pluralism. Yes, we are not, a political. We don't have a political agenda, or
Right.
we don't adopt a political point of view. However, part of our history as Palestinians, we have a lot of pain and suffering that was inflicted on us from the Israeli occupation and
Mm-hmm.
the catastrophe that took place to our people, and the pain and suffering of the Palestinian diaspora and the Palestinian dilemma that
Mm-hmm.
took place. And sometimes you have to get political, but in a way, from the historical facts, and to set straight the narrative and the real true Palestinian story. But we try. We are not like, meaning we don't get political. We don't take sides. We don't adapt certain ideologies. We stay out of that. And for us as Palestinians, when it comes to religion, we respect. We consider Palestine the land of the two religions, in the sense that everybody has their religious right to believe the way they want, and we live with respect and harmony. And our problem with occupation is not a religious problem; it
Mm-hmm.
is a problem of political and
Right.
human rights that have been taken away from the Palestinian people, regardless of their religion, whether they are Muslims or Christians.
Right. Well, I'm sure not every single Palestinian is um, a follower of Islam. I mean, just like everybody else living here, you have a diversity in religious practice.
So we have Palestinian Christians for
I'm sure, yes, I know. You probably do.
and
That's what I said.
they're
Everybody is
above
not
us.
going to be a follower of Islam. Everybody under the US flag is not a follower of Christianity. And according to the US Constitution, your First Amendment right is freedom to practice whatever religion, and we don't endorse any particular religion. However, I'm sure you have experienced it. I experience it all the time, but I try not to make any big deal over it. I think it's insensitive when you go in public arena and you have prayers to Jesus Christ, because that's not respecting that everybody is entitled to worship whomever or whatever. And when you have prayers and like graduation ceremonies, and you essentially you endorsing Christianity. I mean, I believe I'm a civil rights and human rights activist. I believe that everybody here residing in the U.S. Virgin Islands should be treated equally under the law. And as I mentioned earlier, the U.S. Constitution isn't applicable to the territory in its entirety. However, definitely the 14th Amendment applies. And on my passport, my US passport, it says my nationality is United States of America. When you ask some people born here in the US Virgin Islands if they are Americans, they say no. I so yeah, I understand your perspective, but I like to deal with the facts, the rights, and just be direct. You are you a naturalized citizen, or are you a born U.S. citizen?
Well, my mom and dad were U.S. citizens when I was born, so I was born as a U.S. citizen, but I was born in Jerusalem.
Okay.
And yeah, probably, but my parents lived here prior to my birth, and I came here when I was 6 months old.
Okay, so your parents were naturalized U.S. citizens?
Yeah, they were U.S. citizens. Yes.
Okay.
And my grandfather was citizen.
Okay, so you didn't have to go through a naturalization process because
No.
your parents, okay. And the reason,
And then, and then even all my other brothers, same thing. Well, all of them, maybe, well, most of them were born here anyway.
okay, so
I am the eldest.
Okay, so you came when you were 6 months old, but your siblings were born on St. Croix.
Yeah.
Okay,
my children were born on St. Croix.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at now. Because I was discussing that earlier. As I said, I'm a civil rights and a human rights activist. I'm a community activist. Also, I've been actively involved in promoting us getting a constitution for the U.S. Virgin Islands. And I was a facilitator to raise the awareness of us getting our own constitution. So I have been actively involved in a educational campaign about constitutional development. And
mhm,
there seem to be a lot of misunderstanding when it comes to nationality, ethnicity, identity. One of the things that I don't know if you have been aware that there have been 5 previous attempts for us to acquire a constitution. Are you aware of that?
yes, not to a large extent, yes, but at some point in time, it was out there in the media. We read about it, and we read about it for a week or so, and then after a while, everything went away, and nobody hears about it anymore.
Nobody's hearing about it, but I'm trying to keep the fire burning. And that's why every
Yeah.
guest I have, I bring up the topic because I want everybody to be aware of the importance of asking a constitution because we're governed by a document that we have no say in. We can ourselves, we, the residents of the Virgin Islands of the United States, cannot amend this document. So we don't have autonomy over our government. We under the jurisdiction of the United States, and whatever constitution that's created, that constitution must be consistent with the US Constitution, federal laws, and treaties of the United States. And why I'm bringing this up is because there is a sixth constitutional convention that has been established. Nobody's hearing anything. They don't know what's going on. I don't know exactly what's the status, how much work has been accomplished. I have no idea either. I have invited delegates of the sixth constitutional convention to appear, and I don't know. It seems like the interest isn't there to come to the public. However,
Mhm.
I'm going to do my part in continuing to promote inclusivity. All of us here, regardless of what you, how you identify yourself, because that seems to be an issue that is um, delegates, the drafters are grappling with. Who is a Virgin Islander? And that seemed to be a stumbling block. And I asked about identity, and I pointed out, okay, my passport says United States of America. That's my nationality. Now, you mentioned your siblings being born in St. Croix. My understanding is persons born in any of the unincorporated territories of the United States, except for American Samoa, are natural born US citizens, meaning at birth they are US citizens,
Mhm.
and definitely there's no need to go through no naturalization process. However, you have some persons in the US Virgin Islands do not consider themselves Americans, which is baffling to me. But
I am surprised you're bringing that alien who's not in the Virgin Islands. And Virgin Islands is U.S. territory. How they're not an American?
well, that's what how some people feel. They feel they're not Americans. Some even claim to be US citizens, but not citizens of the United States. Now, I don't know how that one works because if you're a citizen of the United States, you are a US citizen. It's synonymous. But some people see a distinction. I don't. And
But
I'm
I,
bringing it
I,
up.
do, I don't understand. I mean, you can have your point of view or your reservation on the structure of your country, but you cannot live in a country as
citizen of the United States. Well,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't understand it myself, and perhaps that's why we are struggling to have a constitution, because there seems to be some confusion and there's some identity crisis of who we are and what
But
we.
brother, what's wrong with the Constitution of the United States? I mean, you're U.S. You're we are U.S. territories, and I guess
The Constitution of the
we're part of.
United States, as I said, in its entirety, is not applicable to us. However, every state has a constitution. There are 50 states. All the constitutions of the 50 states are consistent with the U.S. Constitution. The U.S. Constitution is the um, is the law of the land. So
Mm-hmm,
it
mm-hmm.
supersedes any state constitution and any constitution of an unincorporated territory. So whatever constitution that we develop, it has to be consistent. And the rights of all citizens of the United States must be protected regardless of nativity. Whether you're born here on the land, the soil, or from
Or
born,
you come from the
right,
yeah.
you are U.S. You're a citizen of America from birth, regardless of whether you're born actually born in the territory or not. Therefore, whatever
Mm-hmm.
constitution is developed has to be for everyone residing here. It's for the people of the Virgin Islands. And so you identify as Palestinian, but your nationality is American. So would you, I know there's such thing, categories as African American, Hispanic American. Would you consider yourself a Palestinian American?
I am an American from Palestinian descent, of which I am proud of.
Very good.
But you can't, yeah,
Excellent. I love that. We all should be
yeah,
proud of our heritage.
exactly, and we are Americans, and we disagree with so many things that the U.S. government is doing right now, but that does not take away the fact that this is our country.
That's right. So I would like to know, is there any language you would advocate for that you think should be in a constitution for the U.S. Virgin Islands? Any particular language or message you think should be included in that?
To me, the language is a form of communication. The message, as long as people get the message, it doesn't, but the language is not there. It's a means of delivering the message.
Okay.
Whatever the language people are considered, is the language that should be used. Of course, I am proud of of the Arabic language, and I think it's a very rich and sophisticated language, and it has a lot of in-depth meaning to it. And whatever, I don't expect, the Constitution of the United States of the Virgin Islands to be written in Arabic, for example.
Well, I do
Common.
think it should be written in Arabic. It's required to be written in Spanish and French, I think. However, since we have a large percentage of the population here are Palestinians and other Arabs, people from, like I said, Jordan and
Yeah,
Syria.
well,
I think it should be written this. Well, that's my personal view. I think it should be written in Arabic. You know, the St. Croix is nicknamed the land of seven flags, right? We've been under many different foreign flags, and
Yeah.
we have a rich, diverse culture here. But when I say language, I don't technically mean it whether it should be Arabic. Just mean what kind of amendments you wish to see. For example, the last document, the fifth draft, it contained language that said person who are ancestral Native Virgin Islanders would be exempted from paying property taxes. So that would exclude a percentage of the people, and that would be, if that was to be put in place, that would be a violation of the 14th Amendment. Or the other provision that was in the fifth draft is person have to be born in the U.S. Virgin Islands to be eligible to run for governor. That would exclude you. And I'm saying, I do personally, I promote inclusive inclusion. I think everybody should be involved, and I believe the Palestinian Federal Association should have a voice, should have a say in how this document is developed. And so I would like to inspire you to get some feedback. I know it's not a political organization. However, for us to have this document, you need, once it's approved, it has to be approved by Congress. Once the document is approved, the people, the electorate, have to go out and vote for it. I believe it would not be a true representation of the people of the U.S. Virgin Islands if Palestinians stay home and don't participate in this process.
I mean, of course, as it gets, it's just, you know, as it gets, in my opinion, you know, as it gets more further into the process, eventually, you know, everybody has input, and you know, we can look at it and suggest. You know, and we'll give some ideas, but
that's exactly what I want you to do.
Yeah, in my opinion, as long as universal rights are guaranteed, you know, universal rights are universal rights.
Of course.
For every human being.
Yes.
Regardless, they're, you know, looking for a little bit of extra rights here and there is good, but you know, once the most significant universal human and religious rights are incorporated in there, you know, everything else is just you know, it's icing on the cake.
Okay, that's great. I could look at it that way too. There is a document, a federal public law that is called Public Law 94-854. That is a guideline that tells the delegates, those who are writing this document, what should be included and what should be excluded. And as I said, it has to be consistent with the U.S. Constitution and federal laws. And it must include a Bill of Rights. It doesn't have to include a preamble, but I am trying to engage every member of the Virgin Islands community to be part of the conversation and to have the input. Because when it says most constitution in the preamble says it starts out with we the people. And when it says we the people, I hope that's referring to everybody that's living in the Virgin Islands and not just a particular segment of the population. And I hope that it's more than what, as far as the Bill of Rights, as you mentioned, in human rights, we cannot put in any rights that would supersede what's already in the US Constitution. However, I think we could emphasize human rights, so universal rights in that document, especially in the part with the preamble, we the people, to reflect, we want to see the message that I heard you repeating, unity and love. That message could be in that, we the people. So I am putting out a challenge to Palestinians to participate in this contest I have, to create a preamble with at least 70 words, 75 words, no more than 75 words, right? A preamble. So I'm putting out a challenge to everybody, including Palestinians residing here in the US Virgin Islands. I want you to draft a preamble for our Constitution in 75 words or less. And I am going to elaborate on that further. So I would like us to have another conversation about this. Perhaps another time you can return, but a follow up to this. But I definitely would like to pursue getting the Palestinian community more engaged in the development of a constitution that will finally be approved by all the electorate of the US Virgin Islands. So I thank you, appreciate your appearance today.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be with you and to share our views. And we're talking about these issues. We hope to bring the best out of all our cultural backgrounds and incorporate it into something that will make the Virgin Islands more active, more a better place to live.
And I think the way that can be accomplished is through our Constitution. So once again, thanks. And have a blessed afternoon. Look forward to us meeting and conversing
all
again. Thanks.
Take care. All the best.
Thank you. Well, it's been a pleasure, a very enlightening conversation. And anyone interested, they can see this recording, and it's streamed on the Facebook for WSCX and also on my Facebook page. I encourage you to join Virgin Islands Affairs Forum, which is a Facebook group. Thank you for listening, and hopefully we'll be back again the next Tuesday. Live, listen, learn, love, and levitate.